I sat here today reflecting on a bad habit that I have. I know there are others out there like me, those who tend to push everyone away at the very moment when you need someone the most. I wanted to make this for all of those who do this and remind you that it's okay to be sad and that there are reasons why you isolate and push others away. Our lives are filled with various stages of joy and sorrow, laughter and tears. While we readily celebrate the highs, the lows often find us retreating into ourselves, building walls around our vulnerability like a protective fortress. It is an agonizing irony that in our moments of deepest need for connection, for a hand to hold in the darkness, we are often the most inclined to push others away, to isolate ourselves within our iron cage of sorrow. But why do we do this? Let's take a peek into the philosophical and psychological underpinnings of this self-defeating behavior and explore the reasons why we choose solitude over solace. Let's see if we can find a pathway towards breaking free from this counterintuitive prison. At the heart of this phenomenon lies a complex interplay of self-preservation, fear, and deeply ingrained beliefs about worthiness and belonging. The desire for isolation when sad is not necessarily a conscious decision, but rather a deeply ingrained response rooted in evolutionary and societal conditioning. One primary driver is the feeling of being a burden. We internalize the societal pressure to be strong, independent, and self-sufficient. Admitting sadness, especially prolonged or intense sadness, can feel like a failure to meet these expectations, a shameful display of weakness. This fear of being perceived as a burden is further amplified by the potential for rejection. We project our own internalized anxieties onto others, assuming that our sadness will be unwelcome, that our problems will be too much to handle, and that we will ultimately be abandoned for our vulnerability. This projection is particularly potent for individuals who have experienced past rejections or emotional neglect, reinforcing the belief that their sadness is inherently repellent. Philosophically, this fear taps into a deep-seated existential anxiety. To be human is to be vulnerable, to be susceptible to pain and suffering. Facing this reality, we are driven to create narratives of control and resilience, to deny the inherent fragility of our existence. Sadness, as a potent reminder of our limitations and dependencies, threatens this fragile structure of self-assurance. By isolating ourselves, we attempt to regain a sense of control, to manage our sadness independently, and to avoid the perceived shame of exposing our vulnerability to the world. Furthermore, the desire to isolate stems from a distorted perception of reality fueled by the very sadness it seeks to escape. When immersed in sorrow, our minds tend to amplify negative thoughts and minimize positive ones. We become convinced that no one understands, that no one cares, and that even if they did, they would be unable to help. This cognitive distortion creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. By preemptively pushing others away, we deny ourselves the opportunity to experience genuine connection and support, thereby reinforcing the belief that we are truly alone. This illusion of self-reliance is further reinforced by a deep-seated, often unconscious desire to protect ourselves from further pain. We assume that vulnerability inevitably leads to disappointment, rejection, or even exploitation. By building walls, we attempt to insulate ourselves from potential harm, even if it means sacrificing the possibility of genuine connection and healing. However, this strategy is ultimately self-defeating. Isolation, rather than providing relief, exacerbates the pain and perpetuates the cycle of sadness. The key to breaking free from this iron cage of sorrow lies in challenging the ingrained beliefs and behaviors that prolong it. This requires a conscious effort to cultivate self-compassion, to reframe our understanding of vulnerability, and to actively seek out and nurture meaningful connections. And the first step is to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend in need. Recognize that sadness is a natural and valid emotion, not a sign of weakness or failure. Allow yourself to feel your emotions without judgment and practice self-soothing techniques to manage the intensity of your sadness. Challenge the belief that vulnerability is a weakness. Recognize that vulnerability is, in fact, a strength, a prerequisite for genuine connection and intimacy. Embrace the courage to be open and honest about your struggles, and allow yourself to be seen and accepted for who you are, flaws and all. Actively challenge the negative thoughts that fuel the desire to isolate. Question the assumption that no one cares or understands, and seek out evidence to the contrary. Remind yourself of past experiences where you received support and kindness from others. Make a conscious effort to reach out to trusted friends or family members. Remember that asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but rather a testament to your strength and self-awareness. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we must cultivate a culture of empathy and understanding. It's important to reassure those who isolate in sadness that their feelings are valid, that their pain is seen and understood, and that they are not alone. So let me be the first to say, your feelings are valid. I see your pain. I understand you. And I'm telling you that you are not alone. I feel as though we need to understand that our vulnerability should be celebrated, not shamed, and know that seeking help should be seen as an act of courage, not a sign of weakness. So, my friends, I'm here to remind you that it's okay to be who we are, that our sadness is a part of our story, and that we are never truly alone. The path out of the darkness begins with a single step, a single hand reaching out to others. And if you cannot find anyone to reach back, know that I am here.